I'm not good enough. I'll never be successful. I'm unlovable. It's too late for me to change. I'm just not the kind of person who... Sound familiar? These are the insidious whispers of limiting beliefs, deeply ingrained assumptions about ourselves, others, or the world that constrain our potential and shape our reality, often without our conscious awareness. These beliefs act like invisible fences around our lives. They dictate what we think is possible, what we dare to try, and ultimately what we achieve. They can sabotage our relationships, stifle our careers, erode our happiness, and keep us stuck in cycles of self-doubt and inaction long after the original reasons for their formation have passed. But where do these limiting beliefs come from? Are they unshakable truths about who we are? Or are they learned patterns of thought that can be challenged and transformed? And most importantly, how can we identify these invisible barriers and develop the tools to break free from their grip, unlocking a life of greater possibility? This journey of overcoming self-imposed limitations is a profound psychological process, and it's a path that philosophical inquiry has illuminated for centuries, urging us towards self-awareness and the courageous re-examination of our deepest assumptions. Today we're going to shine a light on the shadowy world of limiting beliefs. We'll explore what psychology tells us about how these beliefs are formed, why they are so powerful, and the cognitive mechanisms that keep them entrenched. Then we'll turn to timeless philosophical wisdom, from Socratic questioning to Stoic rationality and existentialist emphasis on self-creation, for powerful frameworks on how to identify, challenge, and ultimately transcend these self-imposed constraints. By the end, you'll have a deeper understanding of how your beliefs shape your reality and practical strategies to rewrite your inner script for a more empowered life. So let's begin by looking at the psychology of limiting beliefs. How do these invisible chains take hold? Psychology explains that many of our core beliefs, including limiting ones, are formed in childhood through our experiences, interactions with significant others, parents, teachers, and the messages we internalize from our environment. A child repeatedly told they are clumsy might develop the limiting belief, "I'm not coordinated." Someone who experiences early rejection might conclude, "I'm unlovable." Witnessing financial struggle could lead to, "Money is scarce and hard to get." These beliefs, once formed, become part of our cognitive schema, the mental frameworks we use to organize and interpret information. Our brains then tend to seek out and pay attention to information that confirms our existing beliefs. This is called confirmation bias, while ignoring or downplaying evidence that contradicts them. This makes limiting beliefs self-perpetuating and very resistant to change even when they are no longer accurate or helpful. Limiting beliefs often operate at an unconscious level, influencing our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors automatically. They can trigger negative self-talk, the constant internal chatter that reinforces the belief. Avoidance behaviors. We avoid situations where our limiting belief might be challenged or where we fear confirming it. For example, someone who believes, "I'm bad at public speaking," will avoid presentations. Self-sabotage. Unconsciously acting in ways that ensure the belief comes true, fulfilling our own negative prophecy. So psychology reveals that limiting beliefs are learned, often early in life, and are maintained by powerful cognitive biases that make them feel like objective truths, even when they are merely subjective interpretations. Now let's turn to philosophy for wisdom on how to examine, question, and ultimately liberate ourselves from these mental constructs. Philosophers have long emphasized the power of reason, self-awareness, and critical inquiry to free ourselves from unexamined assumptions and false constraints. Socrates, with his method of relentless questioning, the Socratic method, provides a powerful model for challenging limiting beliefs. By asking probing questions like, "Is this belief truly universally accurate? What evidence supports it? What evidence contradicts it? What are the costs of holding this belief? How does it limit me? What would be the benefits of letting it go or adopting a more empowering belief?" The unexamined life for Socrates was not worth living, and unexamined beliefs are a core part of an unexamined life. The Stoics would argue that limiting beliefs are often based on incorrect judgments or an overestimation of external obstacles and an underestimation of our own inner resources, our reason, our will, our virtue. They would urge us to focus on what is within our control, our thoughts, judgments, and responses, and to challenge beliefs that cause us unnecessary distress or prevent us from acting virtuously. A limiting belief like, "I can't handle failure," would be met with the Stoic practice of rational assessment and cultivating resilience. Existentialist philosophers emphasize our radical freedom to define ourselves and create our own meaning. Limiting beliefs can be seen as a form of bad faith, a denial of this freedom by accepting predefined, often negative scripts about who we are or what is possible for us. To overcome limiting beliefs from an existentialist perspective requires courageously choosing to act against them, to define oneself through new actions and commitments, thereby creating a new truth about oneself. These philosophical traditions encourage us to become active examiners and shapers of our own minds, rather than passive recipients of inherited or unconsciously adopted beliefs. So how do we practically apply this combined understanding to identify and overcome our limiting beliefs? First, cultivate psychological self-awareness to identify your limiting beliefs. Pay attention to your negative self-talk, areas where you feel stuck, or recurring patterns of avoidance or self-sabotage. Ask yourself, what belief about myself or the world might be driving this? Journaling or talking with a trusted friend or therapist can help uncover these often hidden assumptions. Next, apply Socratic questioning to critically examine the belief. Where did this belief come from? Is the source reliable or based on outdated information? What evidence truly supports this belief now, in my current reality? What evidence contradicts it? Are there exceptions to this belief in my life or the lives of others? What are the costs of holding this belief? How does it limit me? What would be the benefits of letting it go or adopting a more empowering belief? Use cognitive restructuring techniques from psychology to actively reframe the belief. Once you've deconstructed the old belief, consciously formulate a new, more empowering and realistic belief. For example, "I'm not good enough" could be reframed to "I am capable of learning and growing, and my worth isn't solely tied to my achievements." Embrace the existentialist call to action. The most powerful way to dismantle a limiting belief is to act as if it weren't true. If you believe, "I'm too shy to network," challenge yourself to attend one networking event. Small actions that contradict the belief build new evidence and new neural pathways. Courage precedes confidence. Practice affirmations and visualization, psychological tools, to reinforce your new empowering beliefs. Regularly repeat your new beliefs and vividly imagine yourself acting and succeeding in ways that align with them. Overcoming limiting beliefs is a process of liberation. It requires courage to look honestly at the narratives we've constructed about ourselves and the world, the critical thinking to question them, and the persistent action to rewrite them. It's about reclaiming your power to define your own potential. By understanding the psychological roots of these beliefs and arming ourselves with the philosophical tools for inquiry and self-creation, we can dismantle these invisible fences and step into a life of greater freedom, possibility, and authentic expression. Thank you for joining me in exploring this crucial path to personal empowerment. If this resonated, please like and subscribe. What limiting belief are you working to overcome? Share your journey in the comments.